In 2015, Donald Trump started rewriting the traditional playbook for how to run for president. And to discuss how he upended the process and was so successful is former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski. Thanks for joining us, Corey.
Thanks for having me back. So
your sort of genius mantra was let Trump be Trump. That doesn't always work with every politician, and it worked with him. How is it that such simple advice caught fire and took Donald Trump to the White House?
Well, look, here in New Hampshire, we have a tradition for candidates where we want to have all these town halls. We want to bring them to all these house parties, and you meet one-off, two-off people. The first time we did that here in New Hampshire, we brought him to now Chairman of the Republican Party, Steve Stepanak's house, who has a big house, not a Trump-sized house, but a big house, and there were 600 people there. The house was completely destroyed, and Trump said, this doesn't make any sense. We need bigger venues. So he rewrote the notion of going to these house parties and said, let's do one big event every time. We'll bring the media to us as opposed to doing 9 or 10 events. And that's really transformed the way that people did it because he was such a draw. We had to adapt to his style, which was let's do bigger venues, let's do larger areas, let's bring all the people to me as opposed to me going to the people. And clearly that worked here in New Hampshire.
And people criticize sometimes the lack of retail campaigning, but I think they lose sight of the fact sometimes that when he got up on that stage, there was no teleprompter, there was no script. That was at least 45 minutes to an hour of, as you said, Trump being Trump. That meant something to the people who were there listening.
You know, he talked about it a lot during the campaign. Anybody can read from a teleprompter, but he would get up, and I saw it so many times. He would take out a piece of paper, he'd write down 3 words with a magic marker: Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, opiate problem, right? And then he would go on for 45 minutes or an hour, 2, 3, 4 times a day at the end of the campaign, talking extemporaneously about the issues that he thought were important. It would be a stem winder, right? He would start in one place, go somewhere completely different, then finish back up at where he started. And it's really an amazing talent. And it enthralled the American people, not just here in New Hampshire, but across the country, to see somebody who didn't have a guitar, doesn't play an instrument, and was packing arenas around the country.
So what happens with Donald Trump, the campaigner, paired up with being an incumbent?
Look, there are so many advantages of being an incumbent president in office. The one disadvantage, and what we've seen, particularly here in New Hampshire, is when a serious primary challenge is put upon an incumbent, whether you think of what Pat Buchanan did up here in 1992, or you think of Ross Perot running as an active third party, right? That forces the incumbent likely to lose, whether, you know, and that was obviously George H.W. Bush, Jimmy Carter when Ted Kennedy challenged him as an incumbent, a serious challenge. So what we're doing right now is making sure that this president across the country has all of the Republican support. He has a massive Republican following right now. It's in the 90th percentile. They're very happy. So encouraging challenges if they want to. In the Republican primary, they will lose if they want to get into the race. I don't think they will. But the power of the incumbency is one where he has a megaphone that the Democrats won't have the same opportunity to get to the mainstream public that this president will have, and that's a huge advantage.
Other candidates who have taken a non-traditional path to this point say that approach makes them better suited to lead the country. Next, that list includes one who has already put his money where his mouth is when it comes to economic policy.
It's a bond that will be with me for the rest of my life. They're good people. They care about our country. There's a great patriotism here. And we have to take that around the country now.
You started it. Remember, you started it.